Good evening and welcome to a very special interview show of the Prode. As the world grapples with multiple crises and conflicts from Eastern Europe to West Asia, it is more important than ever to understand the dynamics behind these issues and explore potential solutions for the future. Today, we dive deep into the complex web of global politics, examining how historical narratives, geopolitical strategies, and socio-economic factors shape the current landscape and what it means for the future. Joining us for this landmark interview is Shri Yashwant Sinha, former External Affairs Minister and former Finance Minister of India. Shri Sinha served as India's External Affairs Minister during the tenure of Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. During his term as EAM, Shri Sinha played a key role in shaping India's foreign policy. He helped navigate India through post-Pokhran sanctions, enhancing US-India relations with a strong focus on defense and strategic cooperation. He also managed tense military standoffs with Pakistan, which culminated in peace talks in 2004. His decision to keep Indian troops out of Iraq during the 2003 war underscored India's commitment to an independent foreign policy. Shri Sinha further deepened India's regional engagement through platforms like SAARC and played a key role in strengthening ties with ASEAN countries as part of India's Look East policy. His efforts in Indo-China border dialogues helped maintain stability between two nations during a complex period of global diplomacy. Today, he is here with us to discuss the ongoing crisis in West Asia and Eastern Europe. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and a very warm welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would like to begin the discussion with the ongoing crisis in West Asia. How do you view and analyze the recent developments, particularly Iran's missile attack on Israel, along with Supreme Leader's public warning directed at Israel? Given these escalating tensions, how do you foresee the situation heading in the future?
Well, a very dangerous situation has developed in the Middle East, and one could not really see it coming, even when the Hamas offensive was launched against Israel. But I think the world community has failed completely in containing the crisis. The UN has been particularly found wanting. They have done precious little. In fact, we have come to a situation where the UN Secretary General has been barred from entering Israel. So that shows the complexity of the situation. As you are aware, it's a very old problem. It's a product of the settlement post the First World War. And the world community has not really been able to solve this problem in the Middle East. Unfortunately, Israel's attitude has not been of any great help either, because they have military muscle, they have military strength, and they have used it unabashedly whenever needed. So there has been lack of restraint on the part of Israel. Having said that, I believe that the role that India could have played in resolving this issue has not really been played by India. As you're aware, we have had the best of relationship with the Arab world, with the Palestinians, and we have also had a very good relationship with Israel. So we were in a very good position to play the role of a mediator and bring the hostilities to an end, at least prevent it from escalating into a full-fledged war. We also have a good relationship with Iran, and we could have prevailed upon Iran not to escalate the crisis. But unfortunately, India is quiet. There are many other countries also in the world which are quiet. The US is committed to supporting Israel, which is not of any great help as far as the role of a mediator is concerned. So all in all, it's a dangerous situation which is escalating into a first-rate crisis. I only pray to God that good sense will prevail, and the kind of military action that we are noticing will come to a halt. The most tragic part of all this is the killing of innocent children. Large number of children, as you are aware, have lost their lives. So this is a humanitarian crisis, and the world just can't afford to be a mute spectator to the unfolding crisis. My summation of this crisis is that it is unfortunate. It should not have happened. If it has happened, then it should not have escalated. If it has escalated, then well-meaning countries should immediately intervene and bring the hostilities to an end.
Yeah, so you highlighted the current dynamics as well as India's role. So now coming to the historical context. So what is the background of this deep-rooted conflict between Israel and Iran, and what key historical events and geopolitical factors have shaped the crisis between these two nations?
Basically, my understanding of post First World War history would lead me to believe that the victorious powers after the end of the First World War uh, dictated the geography of the world, including the Middle East. And what really happened was that there was pressure on them to create a homeland for the Jews. And where was this homeland to be created? In Israel. So they created Israel, set up a new country altogether, created Israel, which was supposed to be the homeland of the Jews. But in the process, the homeland for the Arabs was lost. The Arab population was in a majority, and when Israel came into existence and the hard policies, militaristic policies that they followed, led to the migration of the Arabs from what is now Israel into other safer Arab territories. And that gave Israel a majority as far as the Jewish population is concerned in Israel. And then gradually, because of the support that it received, especially from the US, Israel was able to expand its territory by conquering Arab territories. So the West Bank, Gaza, this, that, and the other, which were near the Israeli border, were taken over by Israel. And this is something which naturally the Arabs would not like. And so the hostilities have persisted. The military approach has persisted. And, various efforts to contain this conflict have not worked. The famous meeting of the Palestinian and Israel leaders at Camp David and the famous handshake did not lead to a permanent peace. So here, somehow, my feeling is that as far as the Arab-Israel dispute is concerned, the world community and the United Nations have failed. They have not played the role they were expected to play. Even today, I believe that some well-meaning countries, and I include India in it, I include a country like Brazil, I include a country like even South Africa, these countries could play a role and bring the hostilities to an end.
Yeah. So now coming deeper into India's role. So how do you perceive India's position and involvement in this whole crisis? And given the relationships in the region, what implications could this ongoing conflict have on India's strategic interest and security in the long run?
Immediately, as you might have noticed, there has been a deleterious impact of this on oil prices, which have gone up, crude oil prices. The Indian rupee has got devalued vis-a-vis the US dollar. Our stock markets are down 4% in 2 3 days, and sooner than later, the Indian economy is going to face a crisis because of this conflict. And if the conflict expands and continues, then India will suffer because India's economy will suffer. We are dependent, as you are aware, on crude oil from abroad. 80% of our needs are from abroad. And Iran is a very major supplier. If Iran gets involved in a conflict with Israel, then the crude prices are likely to go completely haywire, and that will affect our economy very badly. So India has a vested interest in seeing that the conflict does not escalate and that steps are taken to resolve the issues.
Looking ahead, what do you believe is the future of this conflict and what potential pathways might exist for de escalation and conflict resolution?
Um, the involvement of Iran in this conflict is bad news. And if there is a Iran-Israel war, then it's bad news for the rest of the world. So that escalation, that conflict has to be avoided. Uh, how will it be done? Obviously, by appealing to both combatants to use restraint. Who will do it? The US is in the best position to do it, perhaps because they are helping um, Israel, but while maintaining the sanctity of Israeli borders, one must also advise Israel that they should not use any opportunity and every opportunity to expand their territory, which is what they have done in the past. And I am firmly of the belief that the territory which has been occupied by Israel illegally should be vacated by Israel. This has been the long-standing policy of the government of India. And if Israel is our friend, then we should be able to go forward and tell Israel that this is what will lead to a permanent solution. So that's a role which India could play because India, as I said earlier, has a very good relationship with Israel as well as with the Arab world. US, because US is the only superpower left and it is helping Israel, so they can play a role. And there are other well-meaning countries in the world which could also be roped in to play a role.
Yeah. Now shifting gears to the war in Ukraine, how do you see and analyze the current situation over there? In your opinion, like what are the primary contributing factors that have led to this conflict, and how they relate to the present geopolitical dynamics?
I personally would say that Russia has been uh, in the wrong in invading Ukraine. They should have pursued peaceful methods if they had issues with Ukraine. But instead of that, they attacked Ukraine militarily. Unfortunately, with all its might, the Russian army has been engaged in a conflict with the military conflict with Ukraine for more than so many months, more than a year, and they have not been able to make some quick advances as one would have imagined with the Russian army's might, because Ukraine has got help from the Western powers. It has the equipment now to resist and stop the Russian military might, and that's what's happening. It's a stalemate situation in Ukraine. And again, I mean, our prime minister went to Moscow, he also went to Kiev, and I feel that given our relationship, here again is a global conflict where India is best placed to play a role.
Yeah, coming to India's role, so how do you assess India's stance on this war, especially considering its relationship with both Western powers and Russia?
War anywhere is bad, and especially when an economy like India's economy is delicately balanced, then every conflict has its impact on the economy and therefore on our country. Um, the Prime Minister of India went to um, Moscow on a bilateral visit. He was seen hugging Putin. It didn't send a very good signal to the Western powers. I'm sure the Western powers put pressure on India to maintain the balance, and it was in order to maintain that balance that our Prime Minister made the trip to Ukraine and hugged Zelensky also. But that hug is not enough. As I said earlier, here again is a global conflict in which India is best placed to play a role and bring the conflict to an end.
Yeah,
I mean, uh, I'd like to add that it's been years and decades of goodwill that India's foreign policy has created in the world for the role that India has played. Um, India had a larger than life image when immediately after the independence, Nehru became a world statesman, a world peacekeeper, and he was widely regarded as a person who was committed to peace. Then Gandhi's non-violent struggle against the British rule, all that added to the image of India as a peacemaker, as a believer in non-violence. That image has undergone some change, but even today, I believe that the old image of India can be revived, the image of a peacemaker, and today's world offers India an opportunity to play that role.
yeah. Sir, I would like to conclude the discussion by asking that as we look toward the future, do you envision a path to peace between these two conflicting parties, Russia and Ukraine? And what steps do you think are necessary to pave the way forward and promote stability in both Ukraine as well as West Asia in general?
Well, the answer to your question is peace will not come automatically. The world community will have to work hard to re-establish peace in these warring zones. And as I said earlier, there are important countries like the US, the Western powers on the one hand, who are contributing to the conflict by one, supporting Israel, by supporting Ukraine. And therefore, there are countries like India and similarly placed countries which have to play an important role in resolving these global disputes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for your time, and really hope the world becomes a safer place to live in. Thank you to our viewers and listeners for tuning in. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you.